Hello and welcome everyone to the Critter Tea Lounge. I'm Chalio and I'm so excited to bring Andy on board with me for this project as co-host.
Hello, hello, Chai. It's good to be here. Thank you for, bringing me on as partner for this project. How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so excited. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me. It is going to be amazing, hopefully. So, for everyone, this is going to be an irregular project, sort of just a monthly podcast where we talk about the ideas that we have for box critters, the updates, the future, and the nostalgia.
That's right, and it's going to be a really fun time. And since this is the beginning of the year, we have a whole year ahead of us with plenty of different parties and updates, and who knows what else ahead. We're going to begin this episode one, with some speculations on what we hope to see and what we may see. So, going into our first topic here, we can sort of begin with something pretty major that we've been seeing a lot of recently, and that's parties. So, Chai, what kind of parties are you interested or hoping to see?
So, my first idea in terms of parties is we've got winter at the moment in the Northern Hemisphere. We're just wrapping up the Christmas event. And with that, there was the forest, and the ice hockey rink in the forest hasn't really been used too much. In the sprite sheets, we've got some ice hockey items. There's like the puck, and we've got the headgear and the body item. So, leading into that, if they haven't been released for Christmas and for the forest room, it makes me wonder if we're going to be able to see some sort of Winter Olympics.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. There's, we really do not have many items related to that yet in terms of active ones. Like I know we have, I think, a football jersey. But in terms of other sport items, that's actually one thing we really haven't seen. And going more toward winter ones, like the ice hockey items that you mentioned, that would be really cool. And I think, especially if you went an Olympics route, you could have medals and trophies and things like that, that I think would really add something that we really haven't seen yet.
Yeah, we could have trophies as hand items, and instead of scarves, get some medals. We have got the skis, which I believe are in the sprite sheets but haven't been added in yet. So, even if we don't get a full party as such, perhaps if there was a version of the forest which is released with some sports areas, without the Christmas stuff, we could have sort of a winter sports festival.
That would be really neat. I think I think especially in terms of decorations, it's not necessarily just decorating like the rooms or like the buildings in the rooms, but there could be different things like the little places to hold your trophies for first, second, and third, different like racetracks or other types of sports built
Or
into the forest. I mean, there's like a huge room with the forest, so there would be a lot of different like opportunity and landscape to place different things around there.
And especially with this community, we've noticed that a lot of people really like taking screenshots and, hang
Mm.
out with friends, keeping those memories. So, in future, like parties and rooms, it's really nice to be able to see those sort of placements where it's ideal and it looks really cool to have a group photo.
Yes, most definitely. We take a ton of pictures that we see often, and we do a lot of cool different things, funny things with our screenshots. But yes, I would um, totally enjoy seeing something like that. I think it would be something, um, especially with the Olympics, could line up well and would just be something original and something that, because we've had, the Halloween and holiday parties
Mm.
recently. I always enjoy, something that's not necessarily based on a certain month, but something out of the ordinary. And I think that would work very well.
Yeah, so we've got those sort of the every year, the Easter, New Year's, Halloween, Christmas. But do you have any other ideas for parties?
Yes, and with you mentioning winter, I have at least one that's winter based and maybe two. So I have three main ideas, but two of these come from Club Penguin ones that I really enjoyed, or at least looking at them in the past, because some of the parties I was not around for. The first one is the Winter Fiesta that I think would be pretty neat to have uh, within Box Critters in its own different format. I just think there'd be a lot of cool items and decorations around the Box Critters world that could really create an interesting vibe.
I don't think I was around on Club Penguin for that one, or at least not that I remember.
So I think it was probably like 2007 and 8 and maybe one more year. And they just had, like, I know you could get the little, um, I forget what they're called, the handshake instruments, and there was a lot of different like tacos around and chips and nachos, and it was just I really loved the decorations, and it was just like a really really fun vibe, and the music I remember was very fun too.
Oh, the music always makes these events just 100 times better. Like,
Yes, definitely, and um, a second party that I think would be very interesting to see is a throwback to one from very early in Club Penguin called Camp Penguin, and I sort of titled that Camp Critter. So just like very specific, and it wasn't even a very large party if I remember correctly, but it was sort of like a wilderness party, and as if you were camping out, or like I remember the Pizza Hut pizza parlor was a mess hall. It was just like very unique, and that's what I really like about parties. So I would love to see some sort of item or some sort of party like that. You could have items like the marshmallow stick make a return if it goes away after the holiday party, things like
oh,
that.
that would be really wholesome. And we could just have like those outside bean bags and pillows. Maybe set up some like how we had that TV screen. If they wanted to bring back sort of showcasing Box Critters art and videos animation in future, they could have like sort of a little outside like camping screen. That would
Oh yeah,
that would be great.
definitely. And just going back, like the forest, I think could play a very good role in that. Obviously, it's decorated for the holidays right now, but um, I think there could be a lot of different opportunity there to maybe update the trees a little more, make it more forested, or add more campfires to there that look like what we see in the jungle. Things like that, I think, would be very just like a fun party that would be uh, just something that we might not expect.
Yeah, because not everything has to be based around a holiday. But speaking
Exactly.
of, there
Yes.
is one of the ideas that I had, which it ties into the winter fiesta sort of. What I really like to see in Box Critters is this real range of cultures and ideas, because we're from all around the world, and it's so
Yeah.
nice to be able to see just a little bit of everyone in the game. So I would love it if we had a Chinese New Year. Doesn't have to be
Oh,
major, could just be like some decorations outside the tavern and throw the fireworks up again and have an item because this is the year of the ox. So we have got the moose head, which doesn't quite fit in, and I'm not too sure on what like ox item we could have. We could have like little horns maybe as a head item. They could sort of, I don't know, but it would just be so nice to have some different cultures.
that would be super cool. And, especially with the fireworks, you could keep the nighttime on for a little bit when that party's going on, have the fireworks. And I think, especially with the port, since it's got the buildings and in the tavern inside, the decorations and architecture, I think, could change quite a bit. And it would be just really interesting to see because right now, I think most of the time we've had decorations like on the building itself. But
Oh,
you could have, with Chinese New Year, sort of like the Chinese inspired architecture that I think could end up making a really cool final product on the architecture of everything.
yeah, that would be really cool. Even if they didn't change the building as a whole, they could just like change like the style of the chairs and the tables in the tavern. That would that
Ooh,
would be cool.
that would be really neat. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that would just give a very festive feel, especially um, just in the cold months that we have up here in the Northern Hemisphere. It would just be a very fun little party that we really wouldn't necessarily expect. I don't think that was something that we saw in Club Penguin, so that'd be really fun. And yeah, so my third and final party idea, you mentioned initially for the Chinese New Year party around the world with the many different cultures that we have all throughout the community here, of course. And around the world, we didn't necessarily, we didn't talk before recording this on our specific parties, but around the world is exactly what I wrote for my third party here. And I was thinking not specifically Chinese New Year, but just something more like doing a tour around the world. Like you could have the port be like, like Paris, and you could have like the Eiffel Tower in the background, or you could have some different festive rooms, or all throughout Europe or Asia or America, just different things that have different landmarks that would create something that everybody from the whole community could see, their specific part of the world in, and could create a really neat atmosphere for everything.
That would be really nice. Because then you could just have, like, if North America was, say, the tavern and that main street outside, Europe could be the forest, we could have, like, Asia and Africa be the jungle. I don't know, New Zealand could be the shack.
Oh, there you go.
But no,
But
that.
yes, I think just there's so many different places to go, different, especially right now we haven't really seen many uh, climates, I guess, within box critters other than sort of cold for forest, and I guess sort of moderate to warm in the jungle and
Mm,
port. So I think you could add mountains and forests, and very cold areas, and just all different types of things that could really cover a lot of different ideas. And I think that could sort of give us a clue on how the different worlds for the different critters could look in the long term future.
that would be good. That did give me one idea when you mentioned the different climates. In the Battle Bears room, when you go to the very far end and you look out in the background and peeking through the trees, you see sort of what looks sort of like the Australian desert landscape. So very reddish rock, very orange, lots of sand, and in the background, just large chunks of rocky mountains. So
Hmm.
I'm wondering if perhaps in future the team could consider opening up that room and just they could introduce the new, because it would make sense, because at the moment we've got a lot of forest and trees, so to introduce a desert, which is, very different, to introduce the desert, we could, use that box as a portal. But yeah, it would just be really nice to see a lot of variety and a lot more than just trees.
Yeah, yeah, that would be. I totally forgot about the environment in that room. But yes, that is one room that I think gives us quite a um, positive outlook on what the future could look like, because that's such a different and unique room from everything else we've seen. And it just like it makes me excited for what's to come, because it's something so different from really any virtual world that I've seen. The pinkish trees, and I guess that's modeled off of the Battle Bears
Mm.
world and game. But the imagination, there's no limit on terms of where other critters are going to be, or what other landscapes will look like for parties. So it's very exciting. But yeah, going into some other ideas here, um, items. What do you
Mm.
expect in the future going toward items in these next 12 months?
In terms of weekly items, I had a look very briefly through like the unreleased list and the sprite sheets, and there's a lot of the puffer jackets, those big puffy
Mm.
jackets, a couple of different colors. So I expect we'll get a mix of those as well as like reruns of old items. Um, there's honestly not a lot of super wintry items, but a couple that I am hoping to see is there is the white witch dress, which sadly did not get released in Halloween, and I'm gutted about because it would have gone super cutely with
Yes.
my white bunny ears. There's the chef's jackets and the
Oh.
ninja suits. They aren't really connected to any environment, season, party theme, so they might come out at a random time.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think the ninja stuff, for example, I would love to see that stuff added. I'm wondering if it's not being added because it's saved for, I would say, is that the sock monkey critter, since he was
Mm,
the ninja? I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I would absolutely love to see that item like that. And you mentioned there's many different parkas that could be coming and such, and I think that's definitely true. And I was sort of wondering because I think the shop, I'm not for sure about this, but I think it kind of launched like after the winter season of 2020. Um, so I was thinking, well, really for that period of time, we only had the free item code, the adventure code, the codes without the different shop. The shop gives us a weekly area of three different items plus the free item, and
Mm,
I think that can allow for us to have much more opportunity just to get some more normal items in the game rather than waiting once a week for only one item. I think just normal everyday items that we see that aren't necessarily connected to a holiday themed party. I think that's one of the major things that we need to see.
absolutely. Also, I know that some people don't like it, but it is really good for the game to re release old items. It can be a bit
Hmm.
annoying when all five or six of the items are reruns, but when we're hoping for this game to grow, and when it does grow, and we get new critters in, and the community gets bigger, and we have heaps of more friends, it's really nice for them to get those old items. Which is why I would love it if the doctor's coat came back. Because
Oh, I missed that one too.
yeah, COVID's progressing. It's changing. We're getting vaccines slowly. And I think this would be a really good time of year to remind everyone to, stay healthy, look after each other, and get those doctor's items out. The hat hasn't been released, but the coat and the mask have. It would be super cute to dress up as a doctor.
That would be fantastic. I totally forgot about the hat not being released yet. I'm sort of forgetting what that looked like, but yes, definitely in terms of re-releases, yeah, people aren't too fond of it and such, and I understand. Some of it when it's every week, especially like it was sort of for holiday items, but luckily, of course, we had many different items throughout the forest and such. But yeah, weekly re-releases very important, I think, just to allow for the community as new players come in. There's not too much of a separation in terms of what everybody has. I think that sort of that equilibrium right now of items for everybody allows for just the experiments to be just what they need to be.
Absolutely. Speaking of experiments, I just want to roll back to the games a little, because we've got Critter Ball, Critter Climb, and the card combat game, which are all in various stages of development.
They are indeed, and I think what's cool is also that they're all very different from each other. You have Critter Ball, which was arrow key based, I guess. Critter Climb, which is clickable, and then in terms of going just in terms of the game itself, uh, much more in depth with the combat card game because of introducing things like I guess the HP of you versus potential enemies in the game. So with regarding those three games, I think there's a very good chance that we see Critter Climb and the combat card game very early this year, maybe in like the first half of the year.
That would be really nice, because I remember not too long ago there was a live stream that Snow had, Box Critters Live with the twins, and they mentioned that Critter Ball was getting recoded, so that's probably going to take a while. Don't get too excited. But Critter Climb and the card combat game were having good progress. Remember, it is a pandemic, so don't expect it too soon. But it would definitely be nice to see at least one of those games permanently linked in the first half of the year. Even if we just got a Critter Climb as a public test, like how Critter Ball is, just on an offsite server, we don't have to have it linked to the account or get coins, just so we can test it out and have some fun.
Yes, and I do think whether it's just like the public test of that or an implementation of, say, Critter Climb before we even get coins into the game, I think that's would be such a major step forward. I know we had the combat card game for a while, and that's now not available. But I think just having a place to step up to Critter Climb in the jungle, being able to click into a game and then be able to click out of a game, it's such a big step that we haven't really seen yet in a permanent structure within the game, I don't think. So I would be very excited to see that.
It would definitely show that the behind the scenes of the code is going well. I do not code or speak any coding language, so
Yep,
gonna
me
leave
either.
it to the other tech experts to tell us how that's going. But we
Yes.
talked about the card combat game, and that is a really nice way to lead into quests, because it's
Mm.
something that I hold very deeply in my heart as someone who used to play tabletop and D&D games. I really love quests. It hasn't been mentioned too often by the team anymore, but I'm really hoping that it comes back.
I would absolutely love to see just some sort of update about Quest or um, I don't know, screenshot or anything because we had a really a lot of different updates about Quest in the first half of 2019. I guess we saw the some text about like a story that could be going on. I know the space rooms had like those little card features, which I'm not sure if that was related to the combat card game or related to quests, but it just seems like I guess I'm surprised that there was a lot of information about that initially, and we've really not heard anything about that. So I'm curious if they might be restructuring how Quest might look like.
It definitely is something that I think they're still trying to figure out how it will work into the game or if they want to do it and how they want to do it. I would definitely like to see it used as a way to develop the lore. In
Mm.
Club Penguin, there was the room above the coffee shop, which had a lot of little books in. That's really cute, but it was sort of just click through it. And I'm more interested if we could have some sort of quest or party, even just some sort of way to show us the lore and the development of what this world was, how the society here is, maybe some fun little fairy tales of, the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's true because with Club Penguin, you had Herbert and Klutzy, which for the most part just stayed within the missions, other than yeah, like the operation parties and
Mm.
such. I think there's such a big opportunity to introduce a lore, and especially with that, some type of antagonist that um,
Oh.
beyond just like what we saw in Club Penguin. And I think there's already we're seeing with things we've heard about big opportunities for that with like the combat card game, which we've seen those little enemies that we'd fight, and if there are quests that are different than that, whether it be like a hack and slash kind of clicking thing, or we go up to NPCs and see people and enemies within that type of structure, or something to do with the box. What do you think, like the quest system and like a potential enemy could look like in terms of how we interact with them in the game?
That's a really interesting point, but I hadn't thought much about it. But in terms of like an overall enemy, I think it would definitely be we could have something to do with pirates. We've seen some cute like art concepts of the little pirate critters, and we've got the port, so it could be that they come in. It could be irregular. It would explain why it wasn't a constant state of war, but a one-off quest, as a pirate raiding ship comes in. Or it could be to do with in the jungle we've got the that cave behind a rock and you've got the sewers under there. It could be some sort of monster, maybe an experiment gone wrong, some sort of heinous creature that has come up from the depths. That would be
That
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes me sort of think about because you brought up the pirate themed uh, world that we're in right now, since we're supposed to in the future have like thieves and ninjas and stuff like that. Are all the critters going to have one common enemy if there is something like that within quests or the combat card game? Or is it going to be each different critter within a potential lore has a different idea or landscape of how their world is? I'm not really sure about that.
That would be really cool if it was like each you could switch between the critters and do different quest lines based on what critter you were. I don't think that would ever happen just due to the scale of it and how much time and energy it would require. Like, that's something that you see in a lot bigger games.
Yeah.
But it would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be if it ever did happen. Probably a very, very long way off. But oh man, that would be that would be neat. In terms of different worlds and different features like that, I think there's a lot of technical features that we hope to see this year and moving forward. What is one
Definitely.
that you'd really like to see?
Um, I part of me really just wants to see the basics like chatbox UI, but something that isn't really often talked about and I think would really bring a nice new fresh feel to the game is a map. So we've
Mm.
got like the Club Penguin style maps, which is like a 2D flat map on paper, and you click on the location, you get teleported there, works great. You could have like if you went into your jetpack item, you could have say that you jetpacked there and you could choose your destination. There's also sort of the art style is 3D where you might see like the towns and the forests and the jungle. But what I'm thinking of is if we had it's a bit silly, but we could have menus as maps. So
Mm.
in the tavern, you could choose what you want off the menu and go to your destination. You could go into like when we have the shack, when that becomes a glitter cafe, you could say that you want a glitter mochaccino, and I just want a map that's a bit different than open up your scroll of paper and click on the house button.
That's that's really interesting. I like the idea. I think it would be something very unique for the game. Um, and what you mentioned about like basic things like UI,
Mm.
yes, absolutely. There's things like an emoji menu, a chat history bar, things that I'm sort of surprised that we haven't really seen yet. Our little text box and things work fine right now for the most part. Obviously, uh, the combat and such isn't active right now, so we just have buttons. But I'd love to see that actually built onto the screen like it was in Club Penguin with the little blue bar at the bottom and things like that. But then going into what you talked about with a unique map, I remember there was one thing he talked about. This was like a long time ago now. He mentioned how the map would be once there was like all the different worlds and such. I think it would be so big and you could zoom in and out and see everything at once in terms of like each room and the critters and such. And I always sort of like grappled my mind with like how would that be possible. But it just is like something I've never really heard about in any game. So I was like very curious to how he would ever implement that.
That would be interesting, yeah. Because a lot of games do have zoom maps for big maps, but that doesn't show the like what's happening live with the players and the critters. So I'm just imagining if we have this like a big map, it might slow down things. Like it would be okay on like up to date and current laptops, but I'm wondering if it would be okay for mobile and if
Mm,
the servers would be okay with it.
it does seem like there'd be I feel like I feel some lag now when we just get a lot of critters or a lot of animation in a room.
Oh
I
yeah.
couldn't imagine how zooming out and like every room is acting together in that format would really work. Or I mean, in terms of like navigation, like say I wanted to go from the tavern to or the port to the jungle, instead of moving there, being able to like click a huge map like that, it just seems sort of odd if it was so connected. So I'm curious how he thinks like what's his game plan for that.
Mm. I mean, that might have just been a one-off statement, a
Yeah.
concept idea, but it's definitely interesting. And it has led me to another idea, which has been discussed among players a fair bit, and that's a day-night cycle.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my
obviously,
gosh.
it'll be nighttime for certain events, like, for New Year's Eve, Halloween's better at night, that sort of thing. You're not going to have a summer party at night, but it would be really cool if it was, say, 3 hours of daytime, 2 hours of nighttime, just a 5 hour cycle. Or, even if it was like 2 hours of day, 1 hour of night, just something that gives it more of a sort of RPG game feel to it.
Definitely. And as when I was younger, I played quite a few virtual worlds, and a daily cycle like that, I really didn't see it in any of them except one, and that was Pandanda, I guess it was called. And it you had like a morning dawn feel, a daytime, a dusk feel, and then a nighttime one, and it was just so cool. Obviously, I think you could set whatever based on your time zone, what would be most appropriate for you. But I never really saw that in many specific virtual worlds like Club Penguin. So I think that would be such an incredible thing to see, the port go from what we typically see to maybe like between day and night, a very orangey sunset sky. I think that'd just be
Oh,
beautiful.
that would be. And like the sounds really childish, but I would love to like stand up in the jungle and look out over the sea and just see like
Yes.
the sunset over the sea and or maybe see like some constellations that could,
Oh,
the constellations that could maybe link into some like secret code. I'm sure that the team would probably love hiding little Easter eggs and hidden
oh
clues
yes.
in the starry night sky. I would be all about that. But what you mentioned about the UI that I did click on with the maps is it would be really good if we had an option to have a cleaner UI. So if there was just like a hamburger style menu with the three lines or the three dots where you click on it and it condenses and then reopens,
Mm,
just if you didn't want to have the chat box and all the shops and the icons for the backpack and the storage and the card combat games and you've got your names and the coins up in the top left, if there was just a way like bottom right corner a little symbol that you could click on and it could hide all of that away, it'd be so nice.
that'd be really nice. And it reminds me too of something I've thought of in the past, and I've seen many suggestions for some way to organize your item menu, because I'm definitely losing
Yeah.
where track of where everything is nowadays. So if we could have like a head item, body item, things like that, that would be a very nice improvement to just usability to our
Mm.
item menu.
Or if the item, even if it could be sorted based on how recently you used it. Because I've been
Mm.
switching between a Halloween outfit, not Halloween, a Christmas outfit, and a another pink outfit, and my generic go-to white bunny ears outfit. Problem is that the Christmas items are on the first page, and my white bunny ears are on like the fourth or fifth page. So I'm constantly just clicking back and forth. So it would be nice to have a bit more of a structure there, just a smoother, simpler layout.
Yes. Right now, especially nowadays, initially it seemed like less because got we had like one item a week or
Mm.
two. Now with four items a week, and then parties which have been very substantial with items like CritterCon had 10, and Holiday Party had a lot more than that
Oh
even.
yeah.
Yeah, it would just be it would definitely be a good idea to see some changes to that.
I would be so keen for that. But we've talked about all these items and these in-game things. There is one big thing that's sort of been mentioned in the past couple of weeks, and that is merch. So if you haven't seen it,
Yes.
they've redesigned the logo. It is really cute. It's definitely looking more like a really good game logo that can be put on different branding. And they have shown us potential possibilities for shirts. So I'm just wondering, how excited are you for merch?
Oh my gosh, I am so excited for
Same.
merch. I have been waiting for merch since like day one. And like I really like the logo. I think Unpack the Adventure also is a really cute slogan. The hamster in the box is really cute.
Oh my
It's
god,
just
yes.
all of it is just incredible. So are you excited for clothing, or are you excited for other potential merch
Well,
items that we could get?
with merch, you've got the stuff that's generic but really easy for them to produce because they'll just give the design out to a separate company and they don't have to do anything. So
Yeah.
there's, clothes, pins, badges, stickers, hats. accessories, the basics. What I'm really keen for is something that I've seen with a lot of Kickstarter games and definitely indie games is an art book. So
Oh,
art books generally include all of the completed art, so like the rooms and everything, but also the concepts. So the progress of how the critters were designed, everything back from the day one critter with the really creepy smile to the cute little critters that, we haven't seen yet, the different designs. I would just love it if they could show us some of that, like that hidden away art, release it as a little book, even a PDF. Just show us.
that would be so. I never thought of that, but that would be such a cool idea. And yes, the old critter face. And one thing that I always have been curious about is because we could even go further back than that for the initial pages of an art book and go into his original 3D concepts. And I'd like
Absolutely.
to, rather than talk about, or I mean, we could see some of the art and stuff, but I'd love to hear like an in-depth an examination of like why he was going with that route first, what made him change, things like that. I mean, it's just such a major change from going from 3D to 2D, and I understand like he thought the community was more interested in something that looked closer, like Club Penguin. But I just think there's so many like details that would probably be not necessarily disclosed yet about that change in the initial style that I'd love to learn more about.
Definitely. Like a lot of that, like before we even knew about the game, just how he started, like the ideas he had behind the game. Even if he just, gave us what it was like learning, like figuring out the new language for programming, why he went with box critters and hamsters, how he got the ideas. Just that would be so cool.
Yes, and once we get more into the box element of the game, he could explain things about that. There's so many opportunities that I'd
Mm.
love to read about and learn about and see initial
And like
designs.
at the back, he could have a few pages of color. It's coloring in.
Oh,
Like just
yes,
have like the line art for the rooms, maybe a couple of like the really fun rooms, like the Halloween decorated rooms, that sort of thing. Just have some coloring in pages or put them up on like the Box Critters website as a printout and color in. It would be really good, especially for when we start to get a lot more younger players. Have a competition. Print out your favorite room, color it in, show us. Decorate it up for this upcoming event.
that would be awesome. And like I know you say younger players, but I
I
am
would
an
do it.
avid colorer.
Yeah.
So I absolutely would love that. As a kid, I always enjoyed the printout Club Penguin ones.
Oh
Um,
yes.
and I definitely did some printout Club Penguin ones during the initial months of the pandemic. So I,
I
I,
hope to see
oh
them.
yes. Oh, I think I still have them. I will send you some photos of them. But in regard to other pieces of merch, and like you said, things like shirts and pins or stuff definitely will be the first things that we see due to their the basic nature of getting them done. But going into the future, with Club Penguin, I adore those mix and match figures.
Yes.
And whether they were mix and match, or whether they are that, or just full regular figures for box critters, I don't care. I just want figures that I can put on my desk, on my,
Yes.
my computer stand, anything that I can just look at and have every day and cherish them.
It would definitely be cool to get some mix and match with like the most well known. I think the problem would be like what clothes? There's so many and they're all so well
Mm.
loved. So like just mix and match with some clothes or limited edition models. Imagine
Oh,
if you had to pre-order them so that like they could send, when they sent out an order, they could just set a certain number and we all got them. They didn't have to worry about, storing excess, models and all of that. But if there was just some limited edition models, we could get the snail, we could get the hamster, we could maybe get like the critters that are more well known, like the lizard. just they would be really nice to get some sort of just. I want to put it next to all of my Club Penguin merch and next to my
Yes.
Oblivion and my Skyrim merch and all of my other random game assorted merch and crystals.
Oh my gosh, there's just I have no idea like the timeline on that. Like I know he's talked about in the past. Yes, we want merch like that and stuff, and I'm so excited just to already see at this point t-shirts and stuff.
Mm,
Um, but yes, timeline wise, I don't know. I just think there's so many opportunities for figures, and I don't know if like a kid-esque collectible that would be maybe like larger than that. Like I'm thinking right now of they have those like mega Funko Pop figures that are
oh, yeah.
like like 11 inches tall or
Oh, they're big.
something. They are very big. Something like instead of always being super small. I know Club Penguin had like the 3-inch ones, and they did like three different vinyl figures that were like
Mm.
Cadence and two different
I
types of
have got
ninjas.
a Herbert figurine that is like 2 inches tall and one that's 1 inch tall. So they do have a bit of
Oh,
variety.
yes. Yeah, I think is the one Herbert I think sitting, right? And the other one's standing or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's just so many different things, and I think with critters will be interesting too how they'll do that. Like in terms of like way down the line if they do play sets or something, if there's like chairs, how will they have the critter sit? Will it just be like the straight up function, or will it be will some critters be molded to have an angular look? I'm very curious about
Oh,
that.
that'll be interesting. We in these conversations we do tend to get too far in the future, so don't get too
Yes.
excited about anything we say because
Oh
it's just
yes.
us talking about what we want. It might not happen for years or ever. But
Yes.
plushies.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Um,
I want a little soft critter plushie so bad.
so Ryan Connolly, Mr. Chili, did get a custom made, like custom order, critter plushie. He showed us it. It looks amazing. It's adorable. It looks so soft and squishy. It's not anything official, but it just shows the possibilities.
It does. And for him to, I guess, reach out to a specific company for a solo order like that, as far as I'm aware of, I mean, it looks really well done. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's not much else I'd really ask for within a big plush like that, and it's really big. It's not like the Club Penguin ones that were 11 inches. It was probably like, do you think like a foot and a half to 2 feet?
It
I
was
mean,
it was pretty big. It was the size of a pillow, I want to say.
yeah. Oh
But
my gosh.
even if we just get little plushies like I've got the puffles on a keychain, even if they were just that small, that would be cute. If they were like, the size of I don't know American sizes, like the size of a shoe, those sort of the
Yes.
11-inch ones, even if they weren't massive, just something soft and cute and squishy.
Anything I will take anything and all of it.
Oh
I
yeah.
am just pumped for any type of merch that we get.
Me too. I am just so thrilled for the upcoming months, what's going to happen. I'm honestly just really looking forward to seeing what the team decides, what direction the game's going to go in, hoping that we're going to see some really good progress on key elements of the game over the, next half year. But I think that's all for today. We are honestly so glad that this is happening. It's been something in the back of my mind for a while, and I was super glad to I brought it up with Andy, and then he was like, "Hey, do you want a partner?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." I was too awkward to ask.
I
I
mean, I am just so excited to be here doing this with you. It is just such a fun time. Whenever there's box critters talk, you know, it's just always fun to talk about, and it's so fun to talk about these things with you too. So thank you so much for allowing me to be your co-host for this.
it's gonna be great. I'm so glad to have you here. But I think that's us. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Again, thank you so much for listening. Both Andy and I are around on Discord and Twitter. There's the Critter Circle Discord, which I've linked in the description. There's also our Twitters, which are up on the screen now, or they should be. So feel free to just message us, give us some feedback. We're still trying to awkwardly figure this out. So definitely would love feedback, or if you have any ideas or comments on like what we've said, if you just want to chat about box critters, feel free to. We love it. Would appreciate it. Have a lovely month. We will see you at some point again.
Yes, thank you for listening, everybody. See you later.